Hello there, and welcome back to Force Perspectives. I am your host, Michael Cohen. We have returned, of course, joining me from Japan, well, back from Japan,
Mm,
as always.
mm,
Spoiler alert,
mm.
Cassian Andor's secret son, Joe Hogan.
Yeah, my nickname is Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
It's my
I,
alias.
man, I swear to God, I will slap.
I already
I
I've seen
will
so many
slap a
people.
bitch.
I've seen
I
so many people saying it. I'm like, oh my god.
It's okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Poe Dameron part of it. I am not mad about but the continuity. This is not where my issue lies with the Poe Dameron shit. Right? It's not even the like, I don't like Andor, so connecting Poe Dameron to Andor would make me mad. I quite like the character of Cassian Andor. I just don't like the tone of the show. Right? I it is it is the very problematic systemic racism that is inherent when somebody goes, "Oh, I roughly know the timeline. I haven't actually done the math, but I roughly know the timeline in the age of that character. That character is Latino." Now, this person would not say Latino; they would just say Mexican,
Mm,
but
mm.
which would not be accurate. Um, but that character is Latino, and they're Latinos, therefore that must be Poe Dameron. And it's like, let's set aside the fact that Poe's origin story is well established across multiple mediums, right?
And,
Like,
and
let's set that
and
aside.
awesome. Like
And awesome. Well, other than
beloved, I would
the
say.
the novel isn't great. The novel isn't great.
I don't care about that. The
Yeah,
comic is awesome.
but the comic origin of Charbet and Cass Dameron is like, but let's set that aside. Let's set aside the fact that Shara and Cass are some of the fucking coolest characters. Like this is the thing that drives me wild. Shara Bay and Cass Dameron are the most like Disney hating chud lovable characters. Like, those people should love those two characters so much because they are just basically awesome. That's it. They're just awesome. That's it. Right? And it's like, well, Poe Dameron's awesome. His parents are obviously also awesome. They made an awesome kid. Right? But like, we're taking that. We are setting that aside. It's just the it's not even this isn't even like, you know, using racial slurs or like white supremacy, capital WH capital S, white supremacy, right? Like, that's not even what we're talking about here. We're talking about lazy average person systemic racism, which is what allows that other shit to be as big of a problem as it is. It is the fact that like people are so poorly educated and so ignorant in a lot of cases, because like, this is the thing, if you're ignorant as like a fucking 20-year-old, fine, the school system has failed you, public education has been undermined. Like, I grant you that. If you are 40 plus years old and you are still that ignorant, I will slap you. I will slap you. I will slap the racism out of your mouth, and I will correct you. And then once I have laid that foundation, then I will hand you Shattered Empire and say, fucking read this, because Shara Bay is one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. She is certainly amongst like the best like expanded universe, like post Disney characters that have been introduced. Like, she is a starfighter ace. She flies an A-wing. None of the starfighter aces fly A-wings, guys. They're all X-wing pilots. Occasionally you get a Y-wing pilot. Every once in a while somebody's like, I think the B-wing is the coolest. It's never the A-wing, but she's an A-wing pilot, and she's a badass. And then Kes Dameron is a member of Han Solo's strike team on the Force Moon of Endor. Like, Like they were there, dude. They were there, and it's like this stuff.
They
This
boned
to
during the Yub Nub song. That's when he's conceived.
I is I no, he's already born by the time that
Really?
we hit Endor. Yeah, two BBY
Ah.
is what Wikipedia says. Last time that
Aw.
I checked is two BBY. Now this is the thing is that timeline keeps shifting, where they're like before the Disney acquisition, there was like 5 or 6 years that the original trilogy takes place over. Right, there's like 2 years in between each movie, sort of thing. Um, and depending on who you talk to at the time, Empire Strikes Back takes place anywhere from
Mm.
3 days to 6 months. But back in the day, people used to argue that a New Hope. This is for the younger listeners, if there are any on this listening to this episode. Um, Back in the day, because of the West End Games role playing game and the way that it described hyperspace travel, it was either the West End Games one or the original Wizards D20 role playing game. But one of the two of them, I think both describe hyperspace travel time, and then you have the galactic map. And so like you can like look at the role playing games and you can calculate how long it would take to in hyperspace to go from I from Tatooine to Alderaan. And there are people who are like 6 weeks, as if the movie like was in the need to like we got to cut the cruft. uh, George Lucas was like, this all happens, but it's not going to be in the movie. It's like as if he was thinking that. It's like, no, hyperspace takes as long as it takes. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes and sometimes it takes a week. Like just settle down. But most of the time in the films and the TV shows, it's pretty instantaneous. It's like an hour at most. It's like we cut away to somebody else and we cut back and they're arriving on the planet. But I there are a bunch of people because of that argument that then would go to Empire and go, well, they had to get to Bespin on sublight. So it Luke was training for like almost a year, guys, with Yoda. It's like, what are you talking about? That's not in the film. That's not in the film. Like emphatically, like the film contradicts what you just said. The film is like Luke is there for maybe a week with Yoda, right? Like it's anyways. I and then post Disney that went down to, I think, like the entire original trilogy takes place over the course of 2 years is what they had originally when they first took over the timeline, right? But then they made 150 issues of a Star Wars comic in between A New Hope and Empire, where Boba Fett fights Luke Skywalker, and then Luke. Well, actually, I'm getting that order wrong. Luke fights Vader on Yavin 4, and then he escapes, and Boba Fett goes after Luke, and Boba Fett fights Luke. I don't know. I don't remember where, but somewhere. And he beats him, and then Darth Vader has to fight a bunch of fake cybernetic Jedi that the guy who's like mean to him on the Death Star. It's that Jerjerrod. I think it's Jerjerrod, right?
Mhm.
I he is trying to usurp Vader's position with the Emperor, and to do so, he's created a bunch of like technological terrors, guys. Because that's the line that's in the movie, is that like he's like, oh, don't be so proud of this technological terror, and so he's like, oh, you think the Death
Are you
Star
talking
is
about
a
Mahdi?
technological terror. Mahdi, thank you. Yes, Mahdi. He goes off and he or not goes off. He has been secretly, not secretly because the Emperor knows about it, but but Vader doesn't know about it. He's been creating a bunch of cyborgs that have like cybernetic augments that emulate force powers. So
Mm.
one of them is basically Admiral Akbar's head on General Grievous's body, and there are two twins that can one can do force push and one can do force pull, I think, and then one guy is really good with a lightsaber, like he's a swordsman, and has I think he's got like like his feet have been replaced with jump boots or something. This is what's in the Marvel comics, guys. This is listen, the Darth Vader comics, pretty good. They're actually pretty good, which is what I'm describing right now. But like these are the concepts that are in there. And so at a certain point they did all of that and they're like, okay, so it's like 2 years in between A New Hope and Empire because they wanted to keep writing stories without like messing with too many things. So they just kept like putting out more and more comics. And it's like, here's Han Solo's wife, and I, like it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And then they were like, we're done with that. After Rise of Skywalker, they're like, we're done with that. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to get things back to normal. We're going to start messing with the time between Empire and Jedi now. And so they put out 10,000 comics between Empire and Jedi, War of the Bounty Hunters, and Crimson Reign, along with the Star Wars ongoing, along with a rebooted Darth Vader series that takes place in that time period, along with a bunch of other shit. And now it's all tied into the High Republic, because Luke is having visions and talking to High Republic Jedi that if you don't read the books, you're like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but I guess he's cool. And they're talking through time in the Force. It's fine. World between worlds, guys. And he's got a yellow lightsaber because Rey had a yellow lightsaber at the end of that movie, and Rey can't have anything unique. Luke has to have it first. So Luke gets a yellow lightsaber, but it's not actually his lightsaber. It's just a High Republic lightsaber that he finds after he loses his lightsaber, but before he builds the green one, because like that's how we're gonna end all of these comics. So now there's like 6 or 7 years that the original trilogy takes place over. That's the explanation of all of that. I haven't read any of the stuff between Empire and Jedi, because I just can't. But yeah, like they keep expanding that time period. So I think that when they established that Poe was born in 2 BBY, it was at the point in time, because this would have been like Force Awakens, Last Jedi time period. It would have been at the point in time where they were saying that it was like max 3 years that the galactic civil war took place over, from like Rogue One to the end of Jedi, right? Well, I mean, I guess technically it doesn't end until the Battle of Jakku, which is like a year later, but I you guys know what I'm talking about. I But now that that has all shifted and it's like there's more time in there, now the timeline doesn't really make sense because he was born on Yavin, right? And initially it was like he's born on Yavin after the war, so, and that's where like that idea, what you said, which is what started this whole tangent, is that he was conceived during the Ewok celebration, right? Which also for a long time was my understanding as well, was I think it's like implied, right,
Mm.
in Shattered Empire, that's
Yeah, I
like,
thought it was. Yeah.
because Shattered Empire kind of takes you from the Battle of Endor up to the Battle of Jakku with those two characters, with Charbet and Cass. Um, but anyways, it's like they keep retconning stuff, and if something happens in a comic, it is so not canon. Like that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize about the comics as they read them, and they're like, oh, this is so important, oh, this Rise of Kylo Ren. It's like, yeah, it's only important until one of the actual important mediums tells the story and completely ignores it, like just or doesn't completely ignore it, but like takes inspiration from it and then tells a different story and retcons it. Like the comics are the least respected, which is good and bad. It's like, well, if they make bad comics, then it's fine, they don't really count all that much, like they're only kind of like 50% canon anyways. um but I think that the comics are treated that way because they're only treated as like 50% canon. So like nobody's really paying attention. Like
Mm.
nobody in the story group is like, we need to really, other than I think the High Republic stuff because it's tied into the novels and all of that stuff so tight. But yeah, when it comes to like those ongoing series, it's like, I'm sorry, Shadows of the Empire is still canon as far as I'm concerned. None of this other stuff matters except for Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws is canon, um, with Kira and Boba Fett and Han Solo at Jabba's palace. Spoilers for Star Wars Outlaws, I guess. Uh, but that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about today on this episode is, I guess, quote unquote, our Andor season 2 review. Um, I guess. I don't know. I think that I have other things to talk about that are obviously very much related to Andor that are not actually the show itself. As much as like I like we could go episode by episode and say, was this good or was this bad? Um, I'll give my review really quick. Really quick. Andor remains an incredibly, exceptionally well crafted series. Season 2 was beautifully shot. The performances were unbelievable. I mean, some of those character moments, some of those monologues are just like some of the best moments in Star Wars. I mean, Mon Mothma's speech is something that I think that we'll be talking about forever. Like, it's like, this is it usurps the speech in Star Wars Rebels. And I watched that Rebels episode immediately after the episode where Mon gives her well, she has her big moment at the end of that arc. I watched it like immediately after, and it's like the one in Andor is so much better. It's so much better. It's not, no contest. But Star Wars Rebels is still the best. But I, despite how well crafted it is, it's not my cup of tea. It's like distinctly not my cup of tea. And yeah, like, it's really great prestige television if that's what you're after. I'm not. I can't keep pretending like that moniker of prestige television holds extra weight over other forms of television. In fact, I think that prestige can be replaced with pretentious, and it essentially means the same thing at this point. And it kind of sucks because a lot of the things, a lot of the the franchises, a lot of the properties that I really love are getting this treatment right now, and it's getting a little exhausting from my perspective.
I'm gonna ask what the hell you're talking about because
Oh,
like it's
okay.
it's 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 not like it's insisting it's better than other Star Wars or it's more important. It's just different Star Wars. It's a
Yeah.
different flavor of Star Wars. Who
Will
cares?
Okay.
Who cares?
I'm gonna
You
answer
like it,
that. I'm
you
I'm
like it
gonna
or you
answer that,
don't.
Joe, because I do have like a very like pointed answer to that, but I'm gonna do
Okay.
it after,
Okay.
like, when we get into the larger stuff,
Okay.
because I take your point and you're not wrong, except that I don't think you've been reading Tony Gilroy's interviews.
I don't
So,
care about Tony Gilroy's interviews.
but this is the thing, is that it is like it's we'll get into it. I want to talk about the show first before we talk
Mm,
about like that, like
okay.
the sort of meta outside of it, which is the thing that, more than the show itself, other than the last episode, which I absolutely fucking hate, where they just fast forward to get everything, like, because they just got to check all this shit off of the fucking list in order for it to sync up with Rogue One, which also, by the way, FYI, it doesn't. Like, just it actually, like, Rogue One spins wildly out of control from the end of season 2 of Andor. It's crazy to me how poorly these two things sync up, but they try really hard in that last episode to get everything to sync up, and
Doesn't
they
every prequel ever do like Revenge of the Sith does
Yeah.
that to the letter.
Oh,
Like
absolutely. And
that's
it's
that's literally part of a prequel is, oh, you have to show how it got from here to here. Like that's
yeah,
literally what
yeah.
how
It's
every
just
prequel ends.
I think what's
Always.
wild to me is that you have 2 seasons to do it, and it really felt like in the first season, like they were going to, right? But then, and I look, I am already prepared for all of the internet commenters, to like jump in here and tell me that like, well, it was supposed to be 5 seasons, but then they reduced it to 2 seasons, and so like all of the storylines got blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but it's not like they were almost done season 2 and then they decided that. They knew that before they went into season 2. After making season 1, Tony Gilroy was like, this took so long. This was so expensive and so arduous. We will be doing this for 10 years if we do 5 seasons like we planned. So let's course correct. Let's do one more season, 3 episode batches, each one covering a year, for time jumps gets us to Rogue One, right? Because the original plan was we start 5 years before and we have 5 seasons of television. Now, there was also a pandemic in there. There was also an actor strike and a writer's strike. There's been all of this shit with AI. There has been all of the Trump stuff. Like, just everything has been just like upheaval after upheaval, right? So I like that those production hiccups are absolutely a factor, and like I and like I'll give the show credit for executing as well as it does with all of that in mind. But you knew where the goalpost was, and you still like rushed it at the end, right? So, and like listen, that you say you bring up Revenge of the Sith. That's my biggest criticism with Revenge of the Sith as well. I just watched that in theaters a couple of weeks ago, right? When we all did, when it was re-released, and I yeah, I mean, like, Revenge of the Sith is a great part of the Star Wars story. It's much better in novel form.
Oh my
I
god, I love that novel.
right, it's one of the best Star Wars novels that there is. The novel is far superior to the film because it gives you the time, right? And the film is only as well regarded now as it is because the Clone Wars went back, retconned, and fixed a lot of it, right? Like, it not necessarily fixed it, it was all there to begin with. It just wasn't as um it didn't feel as natural because we
Yeah.
skipped over a lot of the story, right?
Contextualized, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
contextualize. Thank you. That's the right word for it. So, I yeah, let I'm gonna pull this back, and I think that this will um I'm not trying to convince anybody to feel the way that I feel. I'm just trying to explain my feelings on Andor, right? If you love it, then I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you love it. I It's just like it doesn't do it for me. And the number one metric that I measure Star Wars by, and this is totally subjective. These rankings are not meant to be for anybody else. They are for me alone. Uh, but the metric that I use is how well it supports or enhances other Star Wars, right? Like, I say this all the time. Great Star Wars makes other Star Wars better. Like, that's Skeleton Crew makes other Star Wars better. Mando makes other Star Wars better. Book of Boba Fett makes other Star Wars better. Ahsoka, Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Outlaws, the stuff that I love, the stuff that I've really enjoyed. The Acolyte, holy shit, does the Acolyte improve the prequels? The Acolyte makes the Phantom Menace a million times better. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series makes A New Hope a different fucking movie for like half of the film. Like Leia going to Obi-Wan for help has actual meaning because of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Before, it was just right, like Revenge of the Sith originally did that by going like, oh, Obi-Wan and Bail had this connection, right? Along with Yoda. They have this plan. the plan is now in motion, right? Like that was sort of like we watch Revenge of the Sith, and it connects up, and we go, oh, okay, cool. Now we know why Leia goes to Obi-Wan, because my you once served my father in the Clone Wars, blah blah blah, right? And we're like, okay, cool, that's reinforced, right? But then the Obi-Wan Kenobi series comes along and goes like, no, no, these two are like trauma bonded to each other. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi would not have been able to kill Darth Maul, right? Or defeat Darth Vader in the long run, right? With his, I'll become more powerful than you could possibly imagine, reconnect to Qui-Gon. None of that happens without his connection to Leia. So like that's when I'm looking at Star Wars, that's what I want, right? Andor, I think for a lot of people does that, right? It adds all of this extra context, it adds all of this extra flavor and background to Cassian's story. Um, for me, especially that last episode, especially the very end of the last episode, it sours the milk. Like it absolutely sours the milk on Rogue One for me, a movie that I already have a lot of problems with. But like it ends up causing narrative conflict with one of the only things that I enjoy about Rogue One, which is the potential romance of Cassian and Jin, right? Like I've I don't know how much I've talked about it because we don't really talk about Rogue One very often, but I really like the dynamic with those two characters of like towards the end of the film, as they both continue to like I put their necks on the line for each other in order to do this and like believe in each other, that a connection is forming there that I believe if they would have survived would have gone on to be a romantic thing, right? I don't think that it like necessarily is too romantic for most of like I would say for the first two acts of that film it's really not, and it's only in the third act that starts to come in, and it's really only in like the final moments of their lives where like it's like well we're here and there's nobody else, and but we did it, and they kind of embrace, and there's like a little bit of like a romantic thing, a little bit of a tension there, and I like that. I really enjoy that aspect of that story. And then yeah, I the end of Andor, spoilers, I guess. I think we should have said that, right? I said spoiler alert before I
You
introduced you.
literally
That counts.
called me the son of Cassian
Yeah.
Andor when we start. I think we're past that
Um
point.
yeah, I but yeah, it like the this is what it does. And this is not, I don't think that this is an overreaction, because Tony Gilroy has literally said that this was the intention. His literal words were that it makes Cassian's sacrifice more bitter. I can understand why some people might like that, why that might be some people's I would say cup of tea, but let's say like cup of coffee, because I hate coffee. I fucking hate coffee. I do not drink coffee. I do not like it. And there are some people who drink their coffee black, and I'm happy for them, but keep that shit away from me. Like, please keep your dirty bean water away from my mouth hole. I And that is one of those things where it's like that was his intent, was to make Cassian's sacrifice more bitter. And I'm just like, is that what we're here for? Is that what Star Wars is about? And then he follows it up with like, but I think it's also a very hopeful ending. And it's like, is it hopeful? I guess it's kind of hopeful because it's a life, right? Like it's Cassian's legacy lives on. So I guess that there's a piece of hope in that. But to me, it's just like now when I think of Rogue One, I am thinking of like sort of this injustice that is enacted upon Cassian Andor, who I believe, based on the other decisions that that character makes and tries to make, but is sort of halted by the very contrived actions of some other characters in the show, Um, I believe that if he knew that that was the case, that Bix was out there and that he had a son, that he would have made a different choice, a very different choice. I like, and I think I'm supposed to think that, and then I'm supposed to be upset about it, but then I'm supposed to enjoy that I'm upset about that. Is what I'm that's what I'm getting from the discourse and from Tony Gilroy himself, is that like it's like, no, yeah, you're right. You're just supposed to be sad about it now. You're just it's supposed to suck. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, because that's I remember watching the end of Return of the Jedi and being like, yeah, they defeated the Emperor, and look, hey, look, there's Anakin, and he's with Obi-Wan and Yoda, and he's young again for some reason. But whatever, that's fine. I thought he was like an old bald man at the end, but no, it's Hayden Christensen. Whatever. Don't question it. Don't ask too many questions. We're actually very happy. Everybody's smiling. Everything's good, right? But then, I there's a lot of people who are they're really Joseph. They're
Yes.
really grumpy because there's a movie that comes out after that that's like, it wasn't happy after ever, guys. It was actually sad forevermore. Because Princess Leia and Han Solo break up, and their son is a douchebag and a neo-Nazi, and Luke Skywalker is a fucking shitty Jedi master and is sad about it, so he hides and milks uh, great big manatee creatures, and then drinks it just straight up, doesn't not even chilled, just dripping down the beard, guys. My favorite scene in all of Last Jedi. I just dripping down the beard, Joe. It's so good. Um, I bring that up because that is the analogy of like, I have no problem with any of that stuff that I
I thought
just
you were
said
gonna say
about
I
the
bring that
sequels.
up because you are that person, Joe Hogan, and I
Because
am.
I know that there are a lot of
Fuck
people
those movies.
who have a lot of problems, right? And so I like the exactly my point. The way you feel about that is
Yeah.
the way that Andor makes me feel about Rogue One.
Mhm.
Again, a movie that you know what the wildest thing is, Joe? You want to know the wildest thing?
I think you're gonna tell me whether or not I want to know. So yes.
I think I like Rogue One more now because of Andor, in spite of
In
it.
spite of Andor.
Like I've been griping about
Mm.
Rogue One for so long, and then Andor comes along with season 1, and I'm like, I don't like this, but not to the degree of like this has like upset the apple cart too much, right? But then season 2, and I think this is the biggest thing, is that season 2 really felt like a bit of a betrayal, because as it was going along I was going like, fuck, do I like this? This is actually really good. But then that final arc, those final 3 episodes, um and this is going to be really confusing and difficult to get across,
Oh boy.
because 10 and 11 are my favorite episodes of the season,
Okay.
but that final arc is why I hate the series. Those 3 episodes together are why I don't like this show, and why I've been posting on Blue Sky that I because I'm watching Next Gen. I've been watching through rewatching Star Trek: The Next Generation for like the last probably like 6 months. Like I'll watch like 10 episodes, and then I'll get distracted by something else, and then I'll come back to it, right? But I'm in a bit of a tear right now, and I've been ripping through season 6, which has some like season 6 is not regarded as one of the better seasons, I don't think, because it's towards the end. It's 7 seasons, right? And it's sort of like, on the one hand, I get it, because if you were there in the moment watching those episodes and thinking about them critically, you're like, we are all over the map, right? But as somebody who's rewatching it in 2025 with all this hindsight and foresight of like what comes after this series, right? And knowing like all of that other Star Trek lore, I watched that and I'm like, they got to the point where they were like, we've done everything that we're expected to do for a Star Trek show. Let's get fucking wild, right? And so they just start throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And for me, it's all sticking. It all sticks. I am loving these episodes so much because they're just so like exploratory and character focused and character driven. And so like I'm watching that and I'm going like this is such okay. So I just finished an episode, and the episode is like Riker is gonna have to like infiltrate this. There's like an uprising happening on a planet. We never really get to see any of it, but he's gonna have to sort of like go undercover and infiltrate this planet in order to like basically find out what's going on, so that he can go back to Starfleet, so that Starfleet can possibly intervene or figure out what the next move's going to be, right? This is the A story, but the B story that the episode starts with is that he's in a play with Data that Dr. Crusher is directing, where he's a person that's in like an insane asylum, right? And he's like it's like, oh, you're delusional, you think of this, you have this other life, but this other life doesn't exist. And then at a certain point in the episode it crosses over, and he's in the insane asylum is apparently real, and he is crazy, and he was never Riker, and blah blah. It's one of those episodes which are usually my least favorite type of TV episodes. But so he's been doing this play, and then the play kind of becomes his reality, only to find out that like he is in an insane asylum on this planet, but that they're manipulating his brain and try in order to like get information out of him so that they can like coerce Starfleet to blah 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 whatever, right? um at the end of the episode he goes back and they like deprogram him, and he's apparently fine and everything's okay. The episode ends with just this beautiful scene. It's such a great end to the episode because he's been through all this shit, and it's been really like tumultuous and sort of like anxiety inducing and all of that sort of thing, right? Like just like a very chaotic episode where you're like, what is happening, what's real? It's making you question everything, right? You get to the end and he's on the set of this play that they had done, and Beverly, Dr. Crusher is like, you don't have to do this by yourself. Like, we were gonna break this down tomorrow. And he's like, no, I want to do this. And the episode could end there, and you're like, I get it. He's like, after everything that I went through, I think I need this, right? And then the episode could end, but it doesn't. It stays on for like another 30 seconds as she leaves, and it's super slow. Like she leaves and he's just sort of standing there for a solid 10-15 seconds, and then he turns around and he walks over to this set, and just like in the most aggressive, angry fashion just starts ripping the paneling off of this wall. And then it cuts, and it's like it just cuts there, and it's just like it just gives you that moment of like, Riker's gonna fuck that room up so hard. Like he is going to destroy that set with his bare hands in order to work through the shit that he just went through. And I like literally, the episode ended, and I said out loud to no one, because I was by myself, I was like, that's some fucking good writing. Like that's so good. That is not to like, that's, I'm not juxtaposing that necessarily to Andor, because Andor has a lot of really great writing as well. But what I am saying is that like Next Gen is some fucking awesome television. Like that's really, really good TV. It's season 6 of the show. They had launched Deep Space Nine, which means that they're basically like splitting the budget at this point because they've got 2 shows running. TNG's on its way out. They don't have the money to do the type of stuff that they'd been doing before, of like space battles and alien planets and all of this stuff. So they crafted this bottle episode where it takes place in basically like 3 additional rooms compared to like the regular episodes, like because it's Star Trek, right? So a lot of the episodes take place on the ship. That's how they save money on production, whatever, right? The corridors and Jeffrey's tubes and the bridge and all of that, right? um the episode before it was actually an episode where they basically just did Die Hard, or 2 episodes before that was Die Hard on the Enterprise, which was just them going like, no additional sets, nothing new. It's just, Picard is alone on the ship. We've got like 6 characters in the episode. We don't have to pay for extras. Everybody's off of the ship because they're doing a barium sweep or whatever the fuck nonsense they made up. And so it's just like Die Hard but on the Enterprise, and it's fucking fantastic. But same thing where they're like, we have no budget. We've got no budget this season. What are we gonna do? And it's like that's the stuff where I go like that's I like being put in a box creatively. Like I actually like crave being given parameters so that I can say to the parameters, fuck you, I'm going outside the box. Right. Like, that is when I tend to get the best stuff. The best ideas come to me is when somebody says, you can't go over there. And I go, I can't go over there. And yeah, no, you can't go over there. You're not allowed to. Like, "Oh, okay, I won't go over there. But what if I go next to over there? Is that okay?" And they're like, well, not technically. It's like, but you didn't say I couldn't. So I am. And then I do. And then I make something and I'm like, I did it. My art is subversive. I, but that's like when you're given a budget and you're told like, fuck, figure it out. Right. Like make a good TV show. You got it. You have to rely on your writing and you have to rely on your actors. Um, Andor season 2, I feel like because of the prestige television thing and because of how successful season 1 was, like Tony Gilroy talked about this before the season started, that like they were basically like given the budget, right? And for me it's like like that level of freedom I think you get kind of stuff as a result sometimes. And you can see where the budget went. It went into the special effects. It went into the sets. It went into like a lot of really great uh, uh, production value, right? But I think that like in terms of pushing them story wise, it didn't. They weren't really challenged story wise, and so I think that despite all of the stuff that I really like about season 2, as the season went on and as the time jumps, I think it was basically going into the third arc. I It was like, well, when we come back from the last one, if if we're glossing over a bunch of stuff, I'm not going to be happy, right? Like because it felt to me like all of the character development was happening during the time jumps. We would get like we were kind of just like peeking in on Cassian and Mon and Luthen and Clea and Bix in these like pivotal moments that are important to the plot, but not necessarily important to the characters. And so it's like you end the first arc and you come to the second arc and it's like, okay, so now Cassian and Bix are living together in this apartment on Coruscant, and she's going through this stuff, and he's trying to help her, but not really doing it. Um, but all of this stuff, like their relationship has developed so much in the interim between the first arc and the second arc, and then you get to at the end of the second arc, and they blow up Gorst lab and whatever, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I guess she's now on the path to healing, right? Like she's taking care of that nightmare. But like I'm curious, like, is she gonna be able to shake it that easy? Is it gonna be that simple? And then we have a time jump and we come into the third arc and it's like, oh, she's fine. She's just they just live on Yavin now and she's just baking bread for Cassian. Like I don't she doesn't actually bake bread. That's I'm it's a metaphor. Like but she doesn't do anything. Like then she doesn't do anything in that arc. Like she's just there to be like a housewife and it's like but Bix was a mechanic. Like Bix is the only reason that Cassian's in the rebellion. I don't understand why she's been relegated to like side piece. You know what I mean? Like what happened? Well, we don't know because we skipped over that part. Like we skipped over the character development and we're just supposed to fill in the blanks. Like at a certain point it became Mad Libs, like it became Star Wars Mad Libs of like if what you're there for is the characters, if what you're there for is the plot of how the rebellion blah blah blah, then you're fed. and I think that that's where the disconnect is for me versus other viewers. I
Mm.
think that other people are like, but I want to see the steps of, how the rebellion came together. And don't get me wrong, I want to see that. But for me, it's a thing that happens while the characters are living their lives, right? Like it's a that, especially because that part of the story is resolved, right? It's resolved by Rogue One. Like Rogue One is the moment that the Rebel Alliance actually comes together, and becomes the alliance that then is able to take down the Empire. So it's like, I'm like, well, we already kind of know where that's going, where the plot is going. I don't actually like these finer points of it are interesting, but they're not everything, right? And so the stuff that I wanted, and especially like after the first arc of the season sort of starts to establish where all these characters are, and it's like, okay, so how's this all going to come back together? It just felt more and more as it went on that it was just like, it was fast forwarding through the part of the movie that I wanted to watch, if that makes sense. It was just
Mm.
like, yeah, this is just a bunch of characters talking and like and having conversation. No, we got to get back to the part where the Empire does a thing, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, okay. And again, I know this is because 4 seasons got compacted into 1 season, and that's what it is. It is what it is. But at the same time, I'm like, I can understand that, I can rationalize that, but I'm still not satisfied by this show.
Mm.
Right? Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the reasons are. I am left wanting from this show. And then the final arc gives us the two best episodes, I think, of the series. And all of a sudden, the show is not Andor. The show is Clea, right? And I'm like, well, if that's the show that you wanted to do, I really wish you would have done that show and not this other show where you said that Cassian was the main character and that K2SO was going to be introduced, and then you introduced all these other characters, and then you're like, yeah, well, we're just going to kill Brasso at the beginning of the season. We're never going to talk about it again, by the way. And when everybody's names get dropped at the end of the season of like all the people that sacrificed, Brasso's not one of them, even though like fucking Cassian wouldn't be there, wouldn't be alive, and wouldn't, like shit wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Brasso. Like
Mm.
Brasso is the dude, like my favorite character from season 1. So like I have no problem that he died. It's like the disrespect. I'm glad we left B2 emo on that fucking grass planet. Like,
I am so relieved we went back to him.
at the
I
end.
was I was pissed off for 3 weeks. Where the fuck is B2 emo? They just left him there and nobody said anything about it. Again, that's it. And then that
Yeah.
last scene, I was like, okay.
Um it was like there was a wild component of like Brasso dying, Bix's character just like fast forwarding through the not just the trauma of season 1, but then also like the trauma that she's subjected to at the beginning of the first season of the second season. um
And drug
and
addiction.
yeah, and drug addiction, and that, which like they brought up to ignore, which is wild to me. Is like they were like, this is going to be a big deal, and then we fast forward, it's like, it
Yeah,
wasn't a big deal, don't
it's
worry about
fine.
it.
She's over it.
um
She killed the guy who caused her trauma. Now
yeah,
she's totally cured. She's
there's
totally
like
fine, guys. That
there's a
was my only problem.
yeah,
That's my only real problem with the show is what happened to Bix. Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair. There's a component of it where it's like, okay, I get it. You guys had to condense the 4 seasons into 1 season. There are some storylines you should have dropped then.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have killed some of those babies, and not carried them through, and exacerbated them at the beginning of the arc. With some, just some light sexual assault. Um, I That's sarcastic. It is not light at all. It's actually very heavy and very like,
Intense. Yeah.
yikes. Which I don't have a problem with, as long as it's something that is given like context and purpose within the story.
Mm.
But when they fast forward through Bix's character development, you're like, okay, so then we did that so that we could just ignore it later.
Yeah.
Like that's where it bugs me, right?
She's fine
Is
now,
that like
guys.
you?
She's a mother.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Um. So yeah, like and like I said, like in that those two episodes that I really love, all of the stuff with Luthen and Clea, I absolutely love it. I love the flashback episode, which is
Mhm.
the 10th episode of
Yeah.
the season. I don't know the titles of them because they're kind of weird, but whatever it is. And then like that being like the flashback of like this is how these two characters like basically like this is actually the beginning,
Mhm.
right? This is the beginning of the formation of the rebellion, as much as like Padme and Mon Mothma and the other senators in the deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith, like that's the beginning of the rebellion, right?
Mhm.
And then there's also like uh New Dawn, the novel that is like the prologue to Star Wars Rebels, right? I That is the beginning of the rebellion, right? It's like um the different cells have these different
Origin stories, yeah.
origin stories, the spark points, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's sort of how they talked about it back when Rebels and Rogue One were fresh, right? Is that it's like, oh, this is the spark of rebellion, right? um I like I love that. I absolutely love that. Um I kind of wish that that had been the show. If that had been the show, I think I probably would have enjoyed it more. If that had really been the focus, like if we had done, but also it just would have been another one. It would have been another one of these like Last of Us. Why am I forgetting all of them right now? But all of the like grumpy old man and rebellious teen take on the world in a dystopia, authoritarian, yada yada yada, right? It's a very common theme lately. That you adopt a girl and then you fight the man. Um, but I also love it. I also have no problem with it. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just a funny thing of like how in the zeitgeist that type of a story is right now.
Mhm.
But and then you followed up with like the with Clea being a badass spy and showing us, you know, what it is to be a spy in Star Wars. And I'm like, the whole time I'm sitting there going like, why wasn't this all of this season? Why did we do a bunch of the other stuff that we did this season when we could have been doing this? Which is what actually the show was sold to us as, which is like we're gonna see how Cassian becomes a spy. And then we don't actually see Cassian be a spy really ever. We get a little bit of it in the third arc, right? With like with the Gorman massacre stuff, like as he's there to kill Dedra and whatever. But
First arc, TIE fighter pilot Cassian.
at the very beginning, yeah, we see the end of a story where he was being a spy, right?
Mhm.
We see the very end of it. But then we get stuck in like this weird Lord of the Flies thing, which is, I don't know, kind of weird and incongruous thematically with the location that they're in based on what that location becomes. And that's it's another one of those threads that's like it's never resolved. It's like we have this chaos that happens at the beginning of the season on Yavin, and then at the end of the season, like by the end of the story, I mean, we know where Yavin's going. We know what it's going to become, right? But like again, we fast forwarded over it. At what point were they like, let's go to Yavin and make it a base, right? Like that story is actually like interesting to me. I would have liked to have seen it. But we fast forwarded over that and never address it. Um, yeah, there's just like there's a bunch of that stuff, and then the final episode is just like it's a lot of yelling about Luthen, and I've seen a lot of people online that are like big fans of the show that are like, I don't understand, why is the rest of the rebellion so mad at Luthen, like what, like, and it's like, well, it's there between the lines. It's all the murder, guys. It's all the murder. like these that's what Cassian's talking about in Rogue One of like, I've done horrible things in the name of the rebellion, right? Like for the rebellion, whatever. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, like all of that. stuff, right? Like that's what they're mad at Luthen for, because Luthen has been operating in this way of like, this person's a liability, cut them loose, right? This is a problem, this person knows too much, murder them, right? And they know that, like, they're aware of that. Mon Mothma is aware of it. The other leader, I can't remember, Senator Palmo, I think, is one of the other ones.
Okay.
These other rebel leaders are aware of that, but it's never like, it's never explicit,
Mm.
right? That's the problem, is that they're like, this is not the way that we intend to operate. um and so like, I think for a lot of people, the punch of like, I actually quite like Cassian's stuff in that final episode when he's like, when he's yelling at them, where he's like, you, like, he gave his life for this, you guys don't understand, like, you have no idea, like, we wouldn't be standing here if he wasn't willing to be the scapegoat that you guys are making him out to be, right? It's like, he took this on, he did these things in order to keep all of your pretty hands clean, right? Like, so that you didn't have to, worry about your manicures, sort of thing. It's like, I get that, I like it, but I see how also the way that they told the story, that a lot of the audience is actually missing that. Right? Because if you don't know anything about the rest of those leaders, then you have very little context other than the way that they're dressed and the way that they talk, to go like, oh, these guys are a bunch of like, they're almost like performative, right? It's like, they're all like, oh yeah, we're rebelling, oh yeah, we're risking everything for this, and it's like, you risk nothing, none of you ever do anything. You're not willing to get your hands dirty, you're not willing to sacrifice your soul in order to make sure that this rebellion happens, whereas like Luthen and his people, like, that was their whole fucking thing, right? Not like, as a counterpoint to Saw Gerrera, who's like, I will murder, maim, and destroy in the name of the rebellion, for the glory of the rebellion, right? Like, that's Saw's thing, is like, I'm gonna huff this rhydonium, and then I'm gonna, he's they're Mad Maxing it over there in the partisans, like, they're yeah, riding for Valhalla, sort of thing. Um, Whereas Luthen is like, no, I don't want to do this either. I also hate this. I hate who I am. I hate who I've become. I hate what I've had to do. That's what the whole speech in season 1 was, right? Was, is like, I burn myself, blah blah blah, all of that stuff, right? Like, um, I like that stuff, but there's also like, there's this really big component of it where I understand why a lot of people are like, huh? Question mark. And then this is something that Missy and MC pointed out on What the Force. There's like 4 or 5 scenes of people holding one character holding a cup of something in their hands and drinking it, while another character is like sulking, and like, they're having a back and forth, like, it, like, that final episode, just like, all of the momentum, all of the urgency is gone. They just suck the energy out of the whole show, as they like are basically making us sit there and watch them line up pins at the end of the bowling alley lane, so that they can roll the strike that is Rogue One, right? Like, because as much as I have problems with Rogue One, like, I get it. I get why everybody loves Rogue One so much, and I get why people love Andor so much. I just also look at Andor and go like, great television, yes, great Star Wars, question mark. I think it's up for debate. Like, and I think it depends on what Star Wars means to you, and it can mean different things to different people. So I don't I don't know. I have to walk this like really weird tightrope with this, of like, I want to be inclusive in the Star Wars fandom, so I want there to be room for everybody to like what they like. But I also have to fight against this thing that I see happening with Star Wars, that I actually just lived through with DC, where it's like, Batman Begins was awesome. The Dark Knight was like revelatory for a bunch of people, right? Let's not talk about The Dark Knight Rises. We'll leave that out of this. But those movies are great, incredible, and awesome in their own right. They should not be the template for all of the DC universe, right? And I see that happening with the discourse around Andor and Star Wars, where like I watch The Acolyte and I walk away from that going like, why can't more Star Wars be like this, right? I walk away from Andor and I'm like, neat. I really hope that all Star Wars doesn't end up going in this direction, because I just don't think, or it's because I don't think that that would happen. What I worry about more realistically is that there becomes a split in the content that is for the adults and the content that is for the kids, right? So I don't want to end up in a world where the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew don't happen in the way that they happen, because I think that both of those are like perfectly like in the tone of Star Wars, covering very different types of topics, very different themes, very different ideas, but very perfectly in the tone of Star Wars. I'm going to throw Star Wars Outlaws in there as well, because I think that Star Wars Outlaws does a really great job of walking that line as well. More so even than like the Star Wars Jedi games or any of the other video game stuff. I think Outlaws just like really nails it. But I worry that like we lose that stuff because we're only making Andor and Young Jedi Adventures. You know what I mean? Or Star
Mm.
Wars Resistance, right? Like it's like the stuff that's going to go on Star Wars Kids on YouTube or on the Disney Channel, and then the stuff that's going to be, you know, for the grown-ups after 9 o'clock at night. And it's like there's room for all of that to be in Star Wars. I think I just like the discourse and the vibe in the room is that everybody wants it to be 100% Andor. And I don't know, like I know, because Joe, I know that you enjoy Andor, but I assume, I'm gonna presume that like you agree with me that like not everything needs to be Andor, not everything should be Andor,
Mm.
right? Like so that I think that's kind of just beyond the I'll say nitpicky, although I don't really think that they're nitpicks, but I understand why other people see them as nitpicks. If you like the show, you're going to see these as nitpicks. If you didn't like the show, you're going to see these as like incredible talking points. um I think in truth it's somewhere in the middle, where it's like these are valid things for media criticism. I don't think that they destroy the show by any means. They just really sour the experience for me personally, right? And I have 100 of those things. I but like I get why everybody else likes it. I don't know. I do have one like very major thing that riles me about Andor sort of as a whole, and it's especially prevalent in season 2. And it's the sort of like performative activism components of it, where it's like there's a lot of people that are like, this is the story that we need right now. And I'm like, yes, I agree. It is the type of story that we need right now. But the execution of it and the tone of it miss the mark. And it doesn't actually say anything beyond fascism is bad, right? Authoritarianism is bad. The Nazis were bad. Were past tense. The Nazis were bad. World War II is a thing that happened. I don't think that the show goes far enough. If you want to really consider the show to be something that's making a statement, it doesn't go far enough into today's politics to be an effective carrier for that message. And so the people that are out there that are sort of like championing it because of that, the question is then like, so what are you doing then? like like based on your watching of Andor, what action have you taken in the real world to ensure, not ensure because none of us can ensure it, but like to be a part of the collective action that needs to happen in order to stop this shit from happening in the real world? Like what have you actually done,
Mm.
right? Because just to like compare and contrast, last year with the Acolyte, there was a lot of shit. There was a lot of fucking vitriol, bigotry, and disgusting behavior online in response to that show. And the fandom responded by doing multiple fundraisers for different like charitable sort of, you know, whatever, right? Like there were a ton. We were a part of one of them, right? Like that stuff happened last year with the Acolyte, and it was like tangentially related, right? But Acolyte, because of the type of story that it was, because of the sort of like I think more inspirational uh aspects of it, it spurned people to action. They did stuff. They were like, this matters, right? And I'm going to do a thing because of my passion for this show. I don't see that happening, and people can correct me if I'm wrong. If it is happening, point me in the direction. I'll throw $20 at it, right? Like, but I don't see that happening, and I think it is very much because they pulled punches and because they watered down what could have been incredibly powerful messaging by I don't it's not whitewashing, because I don't think that they whitewashed things, but instead of making an actual point, they were just kind of like, hey, remember World War II? That was really bad, wasn't it? Star Wars is an analogy for World War II. I was like, no, Star Wars is an analogy for all of it, right? It like we use World War II stuff, but it's also analogous to Vietnam. It's also analogous to the Korean War. It's also analogous to to the Gulf War and the War on Terror, right? Because that's what the prequels were about. I you know, like that's what the Clone Wars are about. The Clone Wars are about this idea that the American government disrupts democracies and regimes that it doesn't like in order to seize assets, and it causes wars in order to like go into places and then like put an outpost, like put a garrison, right? Like and then and they call it diplomacy, right? So like that's what the Clone Wars are about, guys. That's what that show is about. It's about a lot of things, but that is one of the things that it's about. I there was an opportunity for them to make this show about what is happening right now in Gaza, what is happening in Palestine, and instead it was about the French resistance in World War II. And beyond that, it did turn that into like a white monolith, which it's like it it's not, right? Like France is not all white people. It wasn't in the 30s, and it never has been. But Gorman was white people, and I come at that from the perspective that like when Star Wars Rebels was on and we got that storyline, I don't know why. I don't know where I pulled this from. I think it's from some of the older lore. Because I know, like, because the Gorman thing, I think, comes from, I'm pretty sure that it comes from something in the old
I think it's.
RPGs. Like,
Oh, is it? I thought it was Tarkin.
is it from the Tarkin novel originally?
I thought it was.
I seem to remember, I don't know, because there was so much of it that like, because when Pablo was really involved with the story, with Story Group, right, which he was during Star Wars Rebels, a lot of stuff was coming from the West End Games
Okay.
source books, because for a long time that was like one of the biggest places to get any of the stuff on like the background of the rebellion, because there weren't any stories about it. Nobody was like writing any novels about it. So for a long time, like a lot, it's so I don't know, I might be conflating it with something else, but I always I had assumed from Star Wars Rebels that the Gormans were non-human, and that's on me. Like I don't know where I got that from, and I haven't had the opportunity yet to like go back and figure out like, was that the case at one point and they retconned it, or like was this like loosely implied at some point in that episode? It's not like she just talks about the Gorman massacre, but um I think it would have been a more effective story if they were non-human. I understand that for budget reasons, that's why they're not, right? And when I say non-human, I don't mean like, you know, like a Pantoran, right? Which is just a human being with blue skin and face tattoos and a New Zealand accent, right? Like I I I mean like, and you know where I think I got it from is that like even before Andor, the thing of like Gore being the planet where Gorman Twill is like this thing is spun by spider, like it's the spider silk stuff. And
Mm.
I think that I at some point was like the Gormans are the spiders,
Oh.
right? Like I think like or like maybe they're not the spiders, but they are like, they're like insectoid, right? They're more like not non-human, like very very decidedly non-human. Um because Star Wars has always used the Empire's subjugation, destruction, and like like these genocides against non-human species as an allegory for white supremacy, right? Like that, like the genocide of the Lasat, which is a very big part of Star Wars Rebels, right? The subjugation of the Wookiees as a slave race, like all of that stuff, is in the expanded universe text. I don't think it's like I don't know that George ever really talked about that components of it. I don't think that was a George Lucas thing, but it was very much like an understood component of Star Wars lore, which is that like the Emperor was like humans first, right? Like he was very xenophobic in that way of like these other races, these other species are below humans, and that I think a lot of just comes out of the original trilogy and all of the Imperials being white dudes, right? Like it just um is the natural place that you take that, and they're Nazis and whatever. And so when you start to tell the story of Chewbacca's background, I think that that's where that ends up sort of solidifying into a thing of like, well, the Empire was using slave labor, Wookiee slave labor, to build the Death Star, right? That used to sort of be the lore. Now I don't think it is. Like I think that's kind of out the window, but um uh in large part due to Andor, because I think that Andor implies that a lot of the labor is actually droid labor, that it's like automated, in order to keep it secret, right? Like as part of that, which like that's a retcon that I am totally behind. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Like that's a logical retcon that like the Geonosians know about it, but um, that's one of the reasons why what happens in Landing at Point Rain happens, right? That's the that's the subtext of that arc, is that like they're there to destroy the last Geonosian queen, which is like in effect genocide, right? And that's like the conflict in that story is like, if we killed this queen, like we're destroying the Geonosian race. Everybody knows that, right? Like everybody, are we cool with that? We're Jedi. We're not supposed to do that, right? And you're supposed to be reading the subtext of that as like Palpatine is trying to wipe them out, and he's committing a genocide in order to protect the Death Star, which hasn't been. I guess they've started constructing it, right? But I, but they aren't very far into the construction of it yet, because obviously at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we see that they've already built the 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 skeletal part of it, the superstructure or whatever. Um, but yeah, I don't know. So I think that storyline would have been more effective if it would have been non-humans. I also think it would have been more effective if they had, instead of casting a bunch of white people in a major Hollywood project, if we would have maybe, I don't know, looked at making those people people of color. And I think that it would have been I think that would have made it more pointed message. I think especially if you had made them, if you had like made a statement and made them Middle Eastern, Persian, Palestinian, something along those lines. I think that would have been very much like an actual thing to say, about what's going on. I But who knows? There also is the thing of like maybe that would have been too pointed for a lot of people, and it would have, and then the message is lost.
Mm.
But I think that's where Star Wars gets to have that um that leeway is that when you make those characters non-human, you can be a little bit more pointed with your metaphor
Mm.
because you're putting it under this fantastical lens. But then then you can make the metaphor a little bit more direct. When you do that, when you've abstracted it in that way, you can then like focus the actual part of the thing to be a little bit more reflective of the thing that you're trying to talk about. I don't think that Tony Gilroy or the rest of them, I don't think that they were talking about Palestine in relation to that. I think that they were very much focused on French resistance. I I look at that and I go like, that's a huge missed opportunity to for Star Wars to actually stand for something that is today, instead of just like falling back on a metaphor that we already know it uses, right? Like that is academic at this point of like, yeah, they're Nazis. We get it. But like, can we talk about something a little bit more pressing? Open some people's eyes up to some stuff that's going on in the world today, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be analogous to Palestine in order to get people to think about that. There are lots of genocides and lots of horrible things that have happened in the last, in our lifetimes, that fit the bill for this analogy. And I just think that they shied away from doing any of that, and I just, for me, it weakens it. It does make it feel like it's performative, right? Everybody gets to watch Andor and say, yeah, fuck the Empire. And they get to, it's like putting the little ribbon on your lapel and going like, I fought cancer. And it's like, you didn't do shit. Right. Or the you remember in the early 2000s when everybody had the wristbands, right? It's like the Lance Armstrong uh, uh, you know, the yellow wristband, and it's like, I'm fighting cancer with this wristband. You donated $1. Like, let's be real about what you did. You're not doing shit, right? Like, it's performative activism, and it's not actually saying that's my thing, is that it's not saying anything that Star Wars hasn't already said and that we don't already all hopefully agree on, um, which is that fascism is bad, right? I think it's more important for a certain audience, rather than just saying that fascism is bad. I think it's much more important to point out to them that the way in which things are happening right now is fascist, right? And listen, it's happening right now, and they made the show a year ago. They made it after Trump's first term. They made it at a point in time where Project 2025 was very well publicized and known about. Whether or not Trump got elected, I think it was a story worth telling, because had he not been elected, it still would have been too fucking close for comfort, right? But the reality is that he was, he is, and that's what's happening right now in America at more and more and more. And people are fighting back, and that's awesome. As ineffectual as a lot of it is, because they're choosing not to play by the rules, but I I yeah, it's this is one of those things where it's like the writing's been on the wall forever. If you were going to tell this story and you're going to go out on the press junkets and say things like, this is a story that I think we really need right now, then it needs to have some fucking teeth, right? Because as it is, I just don't think that it does. I think it's really, really well made television. I just don't think that like this thing that it's being purported to be, in that meta way of like, oh, this is gonna wake some people up. I know it's not. It's not, because like seeing white people get massacred isn't gonna wake anybody up to anything. They're not going to connect those dots. Those people are willfully ignorant. Having dealt with them over the last, 5 10 years, I guess, because we're at the 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens, right? Like, having dealt with this fandom menace bullshit for the last decade, uh, they see what they want to see, right? Um, some of them are deluded and are like, wait, the Empire are bad guys, right? Like some of the shit that was said during this season of like the Emperor wouldn't allow that to happen in regards to the sexual assault in the first arc, right? It's like, oh, Vader and the Emperor wouldn't allow that. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? That's as nonsensical as it gets. Um, but these people are like deluded, right?
Mhm.
So if you're gonna get this across to them, it's not gonna happen with a soft approach. Those teeth have to be out and they have to be sharp. Um, yeah, I don't know, but they don't want to alienate anybody. This is the Disney MO, right? Like it's Andor is not the only thing this year that has been released that was like, I don't know, let's just ride the fence because we don't know who's going to get elected. Because Captain America Brave New World is a fucking wet noodle of a movie. Like, holy shit, is that movie just like fucking black Captain America? And he's like, I don't know. I think maybe we should hear these guys out. I think maybe that we just need to all, join hands across the aisle. And it's like, excuse me? Like, what are we fucking talking about here, guys? Yeah. When you have a movie that has the president turning into a red Hulk and it's not clearly a Donald Trump metaphor, like, come on. Like, what do you like? What a wasted. Oh my God. Um, yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I really like Star Wars though, guys. Like, that's the problem. This is the problem. Because I then
Yeah.
played the fucking DLC for Outlaws, the Hondo DLC, and it's more Outlaws, and Outlaws is phenomenal. It's one of my favorite Star Wars things of the last year or two. Like it's so good. And then we built Lego on Monday, and while we were building Lego, we were building the droid set, the four astromechs that came out last year. Because there's four of us in the family. There's me and Crystal and the girls. So we each built one droid. As we watched, I was like, oh, what can I throw on that's like good for them, but I'll still, like I'm not gonna put on Young Jedi Adventures. I'm waiting on Star Wars Rebels because we're about to jump into a full rewatch. So I'm like, I'm gonna wait on that. So I was like, I'll throw on Star Wars Visions. So I put on because season 3 is coming and we're getting
Mhm.
new Village Bride and uh new Ninth Jedi and all of that. Like we're getting continuations of a bunch of these stories. So I was like, this is as good a time as any to throw that on and revisit those. And I did, and I was like, God damn, this is some good Star Wars. Like holy shit, do I fucking love Star Wars, you guys? I love it so much, and it all just like throws Andor into such stark contrast for me, where I'm like, this doesn't do it for me. It doesn't do it. I really thought K2SO would like brighten it up, and then he gets to do stuff in one episode and really just ends up being a fucking horrifying murder droid, which like fine, we know, right? But I want it balanced with him being a silly little guy, and we just didn't get enough. We just didn't get enough of the silly little guy to balance out him snapping a dude's neck and then using that man as a human shield. That's completely unnecessary because he's blaster proof, right? Like we saw that in the
which
previous arc.
which didn't like that they changed that.
Oh,
Didn't like that.
yeah,
Didn't like that.
obviously, right? Like
He's not supposed to be a dark trooper.
no, but anyways.
I
Um
was okay with the human shield for that reason.
so that's my quick review. An hour and 24
Yeah.
minutes into the episode. That's my
Lightning
quick review.
lightning fast. Blink and you
What did
missed
you
it.
think of season 2 of Andor?
Michael,
Yeah.
I love Legend of Zelda. I love
Yeah.
Splinter Cell.
Uh-huh.
I don't care about Call of Duty. I don't care that they exist. I'm happy for the people that enjoy them. I enjoyed Andor, and I enjoy Acolyte. Book of Boba Fett was okay. Kenobi was fine. I'm not losing sleep over any of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't need Andor to be Acolyte. I don't need Acolyte to be Andor. I enjoy stuff from all of it, and at the end of the day, the next thing is going to be coming not too long from now. So I really don't have strong opinions about it. I enjoyed it. Like I genuinely enjoyed the whole thing. There's stuff I didn't like, just like every Star. No Star Wars is perfect, no matter how much you love it, how how great it is to you. It's your Star Wars is not perfect. Your favorite Star Wars is never going to be perfect. Andor is not my favorite Star Wars, but I really enjoyed it, and that's really all I need from Star Wars. Like it's and this is not a criticism on you. I've noticed that I care less and less and less about people's opinions on Star Wars as time goes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I've come to really, it's been hammered home so many times, exhausting. And again, this is not my critique on you. Like I am just so burnt out on people not poo-pooing, because like I look, any art should be a, like, you should be able to put any art under a microscope and critique it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think we just have to, yeah, it's the best. I don't think the false, the forced positivity over anything
Mhm.
is necessary. I don't like any of that stuff. Um, but I don't know, man. I just enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It wasn't supposed to be silly, fun, lighthearted Star Wars. And I you and I are in like I agree with you when we talk about what core perfect Star Wars, quote unquote, should be, right? Like
Mhm.
the little guys, the hope, like
Yeah.
it's not just cool guys with lightsabers and like good guys versus bad guys. Like it's nice when Star Wars is more nuanced and layered. I really love that. But I don't know, sometimes I'm okay with just Republic Commando, clones killing droid. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't need to
Mhm.
be, every Star Wars doesn't need to be that peak Star Wars. I'm okay with, oh, sometimes Star Wars is just overly emo and serious,
Yeah.
or like, oh yeah, sometimes Star Wars can be just Jedi and Sith and black and white. Like it's totally fine. I don't know. I just I
I
don't
think yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the interesting part of it is that you and I think, are saying the same thing and reacting to the same stuff, just with very different emotional responses,
Yeah.
right? Because I think like you're like, like like you're exhausted with the discourse, right? Like
Yeah.
with the Star
It
Wars
it
discourse.
was really, I didn't get to this point until Acolyte,
Yeah.
because I just wanted to be like, everybody shut the fuck up about Acolyte. Like I'm so
Yeah.
tired of
Yeah.
everybody having an opinion on
Yeah.
Acolyte. And like
And
that's, I mean, I'm on a podcast, so
yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand that, well, that's kind of the job here. But I don't know, like it's just it's I'm sad that things are so polarized. And it's already polarized outside of entertainment.
Yeah.
So to also, like, that's, and I don't agree with the people who say like, "Oh, politics on Star Wars. I just want my Star Wars." Like, no, shut up. You totally missed the point of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But like, I understand the sentiment of, well, real life can be exhausting, and it kind of sucks when the things that I love also have to be exhausting in some aspects. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I understand where that mentality is coming from, even though I think they are just, what's the phrase, missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the thing about Andor is that I don't think it is polarizing. Like I recognize that I am
yeah,
in the
no, no, I know.
overwhelming minority
Mhm.
with my criticism of the show, right? And like my distaste for the show. I understand that the vast majority of people and a lot of the mainstream audience, that this is what they want from Star Wars.
Mm.
I think that's where it that's where it is so triggering for me, is that the it's not what people are saying, it's the volume at which it's being said
Yeah. Yeah.
that gets me concerned, right? And I think it is, like I said, I think that we're coming at this. We even though you and I don't agree on our like or dislike for Andor, you and I agree on so much of like how we approach Star Wars, why we love Star Wars, what we're here for, right? And that's where like this is connected, is that like your reaction to the dislike of Acolyte is um inversely proportionate to my reaction to the love and nonstop fucking incessant praise for Andor, right? Because like I am, when I point out these things that I am critical of and the things that were problems for me, I am by no means saying that the show shouldn't exist or that I think it's bad.
Mm,
That's kind of at the core of like why I get so frustrated with it, is that I'm so close to liking the
mm,
show. It's very much like Rise of Skywalker, where I'm like, if only the people who made this had thought of the people like me before they made it, I would probably enjoy this a lot more. If they had just been like, oh, but there are fans who want to see X, Y, and Z, so maybe we should have a little bit of that in there. Maybe we should respect that a little bit more. I think where Andor really, really, really gets under my skin, and this a lot of it has been exacerbated over the course of the last week as Tony Gilroy does more and more press. It was the point. There's a bunch of stuff that I've been saying since Andor season 1, stuff that I've even said about Rogue One, that he has said this last week in press junkets and interviews, that he was like specifically like saying, basically saying like fuck you to people who think that. And he says it in like these very diplomatic ways where he's like, I think everybody's opinions are valid, they're just stupid. And it's like, it's one thing for me to say that on a podcast that 100 people are listening to, and I think when I say it, it's very tongue in cheek, right? When he's saying it in a way that is very much like, it's very coded language. Like there, I wish that I had the quote at the top of my head, but this was like early last week, so it's kind of flown the coop. But and I don't want to go dig for it, but there was a moment where he basically said, I think it was actually in one of I think it was in like a video, like right after the finale aired, like they did like a like a promo video or whatever, where he was talking about it. Maybe it was a Star Wars Celebration thing, but he was basically saying something along the lines of, there are people out there that like they want Star Wars to be like this and this and this, right? Like of like the what we said, you know, like the light and the silly and the aliens and the creatures and the force and magic and all of that stuff. And then there are, but and that's fine. But then there are also there are people who want, you know, something more blah 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 whatever, right? Mature and dark and gritty and yada yada yada. And both of those things can exist, but the language that he used to describe the lighter side of Star Wars was very like, um it was very oh, I can't think what the word has just fallen out of my head, but he was like talking down to it, condescending.
mm.
Like it was very condescending language. The tone wasn't. The tone was like, oh yeah, I mean, like I know that there, listen guys, I know that there are people who fucking love baby Star Wars. They just love baby Star Wars. They love it so much, and I think that that's totally valid. But then some people want like real stories. Right? It's like and it's like, Star Wars Rebels is a real story, guys. Like it is. Yeah, it's also it is lighter, it is sillier. But they are real stories. Like they're not just because it's not prestige television doesn't mean it's not great storytelling. And I think like that's part of like a larger dialogue of like, I'm exhausted by this stuff. I'm exhausted by The Last of Us and Severance and shit. What's the other one? What's the one about the shitty family that are all like in business or whatever?
I have no
Succession,
idea.
I Game of Thrones, like just everything that's sort of been on that tip since Game of Thrones, right? Of the like, oh man, we got to murder everybody, or everybody has to be an unlikable character. It's just like this HBO prestige drama syndrome, right? Of like, it's not, listen guys, it's not a real TV show unless it's a prestige drama. And
I
it's
hated the Penguin for that reason. I hated
gosh, I haven't
every.
watched it
I
yet. I haven't
hated
watched it yet.
There's one character I liked,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but works out best for the bad guys
Yeah,
all the
but
time.
womp womp. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I was just like, I fucking hate shows like this. That's
Yeah.
I'm gonna say a very controversial thing. I refuse to watch The Sopranos because I don't care about what criminals do in their downtime.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
care that they're complex people.
I listen, Breaking Bad, right? Like I get it. I get it. Crystal and I watched the first 3 seasons of that, and I swear to God, if they showed another fucking close up of that burnt teddy bear in the pool, I was going to shoot somebody. And you know who shot that? Ryan Johnson.
Oh, that explains a lot.
But I love everything else that Ryan Johnson has done, right? Like I love his other movies. But Breaking Bad, I love Vince Gilligan. Like I think that Vince Gilligan is an incredible storyteller. I love the other stuff that he has done, the other stuff that he's been a part of, and I love him as a personality. And like when he talks about storytelling and television and media, like I think that he has incredibly smart things to say. I just don't want to watch Breaking Bad. Like I just don't. And I think it's along the same lines of Sopranos and or I I love the first Last of Us game.
Mm.
I recognize how incredible the second game is. I can't say that I love it because I will never play it again. I will never ever play that game again. And season 2 of The Last of Us is the first half of The Last of Us Part 2. And I watched the first 2 episodes, and it got to the point that it got to at the end of the second episode. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who's not caught up or is like waiting for the full season to drop or whatever. I But it gets to that point, and I'm just like I'm living that again. And I don't think that it's a bad story beat. I think that it is a necessary one for the story that they're telling. I just don't think I want to be a part of that story. Like I'm having a really hard time because I know that there's another part, and it's the episode that just aired this past weekend. Because I've seen clips of it and like screenshots from it, and it is my favorite part of The Last of Us Part 2. I love it so much. It's such a great moment in that game. Which again, I'm not going to say anything because I know that there are people that haven't played the game or watched the show or whatever. I think Joe, you're among those people, right? You haven't played The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, I plan to. It was
Yeah,
spoiled for
yeah,
me before the game came out, and I was
yeah,
just
yeah,
like, I don't care. And then Tina played it and loved it, so now
yeah.
because of that, I'm gonna play it.
It is absolutely worthwhile, and I think that if like you enjoyed The Last of Us Part 1, I think that like yeah, play The Last of Us Part 2.
Mm.
um there's a scene in it that I think it's one of the best things that's ever been done in a video game. And I think beyond video games, I think it's one of the best things that's ever been in a story that I've ingested,
Mm.
right? That I've been a part of and enjoyed. Um and that episode just aired, and I'm like, I want to watch it, but I have to get through the other 3 episodes that lead up to it. I think if my count is correct. And I just can't do it. I just can't do it because I'm just like, man, the world sucks enough. I don't need a pretend shitty world, right? Like I just don't need pretend fascist right now. I don't need pretend authoritarianism. I don't need a metaphor for late stage capitalist decline. Like these are not the things that I require at the moment. What I require at the moment is Thunderbolts, which is as much as it is a story about, a bunch of miscreants coming together to form a team. It's also like it's very much about not being defined by your trauma, not being defined by the bad shit, that like everybody has it within them to turn it around and do the right thing and be a good person, right? That's what that movie's about, and it's fucking awesome. It's so good. If you haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, which like a lot of people haven't, because it's performing worse than Captain America. And I think in part because of how bad Captain America was. I and the people who did go see it were like, I think I'm done with these Marvel movies, and I'm like, you know what? If that were the measure of it, I wouldn't blame you. I'm not. I'll never be done with them. If like they can keep putting these things out, and if they're all garbage, I'll keep going because I have a sickness. But but Thunderbolts is like return to form for me for the MCU, and we're heading into Fantastic Four, which looks to be very much like let's get back to it. Let's get back to superheroing. No more of this anti-hero angsty nonsense. Which like Thunderbolts on paper, you're like it's a bunch of villains and like messed up characters, anti-heroes coming together. That's what it is, right? It's like no, actually, it's not. It's like more lighthearted and fun than the last three MCU films. I I and Superman on the horizon is the thing that I look at, and I'm like, we're almost there, guys. We're almost there, and I'm really hoping that it pulls us out of this fucking anti-hero sort of like cynical storytelling slump. I like that's it. Just I understand why we've been in it, and I understand like I think it's important that stuff goes through these cycles, and we get this lens and we reflect on it. We Missy and I talked about this a lot on the latest Perfect 10, talking about the Rocketeer, which comes out the same day that this episode dropped. So uh, for everybody, it's already out on Patreon if you're a Patreon person. But um, I yeah, or I guess it comes out for everybody the day that this drops on Patreon, because this will be on Patreon. Yeah. Anyways,
Wait, so
it's out
what
right
day?
now. If you're listening to this, it's out.
What day does this
I
come out?
it'll be out on Monday for
Uh,
everybody.
well, we missed your birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, like I think we need to, as a society, start telling stories that are a little bit more on that hopeful side, in order to inspire people to do what needs to be done, to do the hard work, right? Because like the world outside fucking sucks. You look out your window, and I mean, when you look out your window, actually everything looks fine. It's kind of part of the problem, is that everything looks fine. um I but I there's all of this stuff going on that really sucks, and it's really hard to, like, I don't know, have the energy and everything that it takes to stay vigilant. But storytelling, I think, is a really important part of us recharging those batteries, like those that sort of that spiritual side of it. And I mean spiritual in like a non-religious context. I mean it's just in like that ineffable thing of like that will to get up and go punch a fucking Nazi, right? And I think that a story like Andor isn't the thing that gets us to do that. I think a story where we see the good guys winning, um, and where we see an example of what a hero is, um, not what a hero isn't, which is the point of Andor, right? And so it's like it's tough because like I don't want to criticize it for that, because it is the point of it and it executes that well, of us being like Cassian is a character who is like necessary, and Luthen is necessary, right? Like these people are necessary for this fight, but um they're not inspirational.
Mm.
They're certainly not aspirational. Let's put it that way, right? um yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I want to say I let me put it this way. Let me use a completely different franchise as an analogy. And this keeps happening because they stare at me from my desk because I've got Goku and Vegeta right in front of me on my desk. I also have Superior Spider-Man, so like he's balancing it out, and Cyclops is over there. So like these guys, there's a healthy balance on my desk, but Goku and Vegeta keep staring at me, and I just find that I really want to talk about Dragon Ball in context of the world lately. Um, Vegeta's rad. Vegeta's a great character. And after my rewatch of Dragon Ball Z and after watching Dragon Ball Super, I think that Vegeta is my favorite Dragon Ball character. And I used to hate him so much because the old dub just made him so fucking lame. He was just a one note, I'm a bad guy, I'll always be a bad guy kind of character. But the actual story as told by Akira Toriyama, like Vegeta's a great character. I love him so much. Vegeta doesn't really inspire that much. I don't think. I think that he's just like he's a fun character and I love him. He's a real rascal. And I love that about him. But Goku is like a very inspirational character. When people aren't being like lame internet dumb dicks about it and going like, well, actually, Goku's the worst father in media. Blah, blah. Yeah, shut up. Goku is people want to define Goku by his strength, right? That's the thing that could so and so beat Goku in a fight? What if Superman and Goku fought? Superman and Goku fought. Who's gonna win? Who's strong enough to defeat Goku? And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not what defines Goku. What defines Goku is his kindness. Goku is a fucking rad dude. Like he's a nice guy. Goku is so kind that his best friend tried to murder him and his son and the entire planet. Like his best buddy, because like do not get confused about this. Vegeta is Goku's best friend and Goku is Vegeta's best friend. These two, like, they're best buds forever, whether Vegeta wants to acknowledge it or not. They're just the bestest of pals. That's how kind Goku is, right? And that's Superman as well, is kind. And guess who else is a rad character that is kind and that is defined by that kindness? Fucking Spider-Man is kind, right? Like the best characters, the best fucking characters. It's actually the thing that makes them as awesome as they are. It is that they have power, they are strong. That is what defines Luke Skywalker. And I think it's one of the reasons why people get rankled by Last Jedi Luke Skywalker, because he's not kind, right? He's not kind for a reason. There's a story thing going on there. And I think that story thing is interesting. And I think that it's a thing worth exploring because it's important to be kind. And it's like, if you look at Luke at the beginning of that film versus Luke at the end of that movie, what's the difference, right? And it is that like the Luke at the beginning of the movie does not have the ability to look at Leia and say no one's ever really gone, right? um like that is like that's the thing that defines that character, is how powerful he is, and yet he chooses kindness. Goku chooses kindness. Superman chooses kindness. It's the thing that pisses off Lex Luthor the most. Is like, you could be king, you could have it the way you want it, yet you're saving kittens from trees. Like, why? And it's like, because it's the right thing to do, because that little girl is sad, and if I can make that girl not sad, why wouldn't I do that, right? So I really feel like right now that's what we need to get back to. I really hope that that's what Star Wars can get back to. It's been a really long time since I think that we've had a story in Star Wars that is really 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 about that. I think that Skeleton Crew has aspects of that, because I do think that um oh my god, I can't remember his name. The main kid, the one that wants to be a Jedi. I
Oh, damn. Not Fern. Not
No.
KB. Not Neil. Oh my god. What's the kid's name?
Right? I know I can remember everybody else's names. I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, you guys know. that's that character. I mean, like it's also what defines Neil, right? Like that's what makes Neil such a great character too, is that he's like, I don't want to fight. I just want to be friends. It's like, yeah, dude, I get it. I get it. Can't we just be space friends? Why do we have to be space enemies? I Yeah, but I would love it if we got a story that where that was a little bit more central. We're not going to in the immediate future because the next thing on the horizon is actually Darth Maul. So
Yeah.
I mean Star Wars Visions is, and Star Wars Visions will have it'll run the gamut, right? Like we'll get Ronin, which is absolutely edgelord bullshit. And I know that a lot of people fucking love it, but I just see it and I go like, that this is the type of anime that I don't like. But we're also gonna get more Village Bride. We're gonna get more Ninth Jedi. And I think that like Ninth Jedi, that's actually one of the things that's going on there in that story is that you know, like the good guys are good guys. So I'm excited to see where that's gonna go, and hopefully it'll be non-cynical. It'll be a sincere uh, Star Wars story. And we're gonna get new stuff. We'll get new stuff with Visions that I don't know. We don't know enough yet to know what we're getting. Yeah, I don't know. I would even say, man, I don't want to get too into it because we got to do an episode of Rebel Cells and we need to wrap this up. But I Tales of the Underworld,
Ah.
I
No.
think you've got two characters where like that kindness thing is actually kind of at the core of both of those stories, right?
Yeah.
Because Asajj, despite who she would like to think she is, she's a softie, right? Like that Obi-Wan stuff has really started to rub off on her, and I fucking love it. I can't wait to talk about that arc. And then the Cad Bane one is the polar opposite of that, right? He That story is about him closing himself off to that. And yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to do that episode of Rebel Cells. We're gonna do that soon. We just have to figure out scheduling, where it's gonna fall in things. But I don't know. I think we can try and figure it out for next week because I really want to talk about those because I really love the Asajj ones. I'm kind of lukewarm on the Cad Bane ones, but I think that if we talk about them, that I'll not be.
Yeah.
Especially because like guys, preview, Kyle fucking loved them.
Yeah.
Which like I think Joe, you and I were both kind of like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, rad,
Awesome.
excellent, because you and I have a lot of great things to say about the Asajj one, but like less so about the Cad Bane. I don't think they're bad. I was just kind of like, I don't, it just didn't connect for me. But I think discussing them, I think it will. But yeah, like I don't know. I just yeah, I want to see. I would really like to see kind characters become like cool again. You know, like I would really like it if the good guys were good guys again. I'd really love it if um we weren't quite so ambiguous about everything, and that it wasn't like about doing the wrong thing to do the right thing, or you know, like I'd really love it if uh heroes could be heroes. Not to say that like I want them to be well-rounded characters. I want them to be nuanced, but um yeah, I don't know. I'm tired of sitting in the shade. I think it's time to step out into the light a little. Uh, uh yeah, I don't know. I'm really hoping that Shadow Lord, that Darth Maul, really like bucks the expectation of what people think the show is going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that it might, because Bad Batch absolutely did and ended up being so great as a result. And I think that I mean, like, listen, I think that the reason why Athena Portillo and Sam Witwer are so jazzed is because they love Maul for the same reason that I love Maul, and it's not because he's a badass. It's not because he's got a rad double bladed lightsaber, or you know that he looks like a tattoo come to life. I think it's because they know what we know on this podcast, which is that Darth Maul is just a little guy. He's just a silly little guy that just wants to be loved. And that's what it's all about. And that's what we're gonna explore, is that Darth Maul is just very, very broken and just needs a fucking hug. which is what Obi-Wan gives him, and then he dies peacefully. I mean, he kills him with a lightsaber before that happens, but then he like grabs him and he's like, "I got you." my worst enemy, the person who caused me the most grief in my existence. Yeah, because Obi-Wan, guess what? He's fucking kind. It's his superpower, you guys. It's his superpower. Uh it's all of their superpowers, these characters that are at the center of this Star Wars thing. And I just like Andor's done. I think like that's the best thing is that Andor's done. It's finished.
Best thing.
It's over. And Tony Gilroy is like, I'm not making any more Star Wars. I'm done with Star Wars. I've spent enough time in this sandbox. And it's like, yeah, you did. You spent all that time in that sandbox and you played with one toy. Wild to me that you would spend all of the time. Biggest sandbox ever, coolest sandbox ever created. George Lucas was like, I have all of the best toys in this sandbox. And Tony Gilroy was like, I'm playing with this truck. And that's it. It's the only thing that I'm playing with. I just think that's a wild choice. I just not two trucks. Nope. This one truck. They'll give me the biggest budget of all of these shows, and I'm going to spend it on this one truck. Yeah. Star Wars is cool. I like Star Wars.
Yeah.
I just wish that there was more Star Wars in Andor. I feel like I would be happier if there was more Star Wars in it, but there really wasn't all that much Star Wars in that Star Wars show. So, yeah. But apparently it's the best one.
There was
Joe.
enough for it. Well, those people are wrong, but
it's the best one.
I'm not worried about
the
those
best
people.
one. It's the best one. What is the best Star Wars, Joe?
Oh God, there is no best Star Wars. That's subjective.
That's wrong. It's Star Wars Rebels.
It's not. It's Clone Wars. No, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's the Star Wars in our heart is the best Star Wars.
Fucking lame. Okay. Cool. Awesome. We did it. This has been an episode of Forced Perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've been gone for a while. Joe fucked off to Japan for a million years and left me all alone. But now he's back.
And I came back with no patience for people disliking or liking anything Star Wars.
Yeah. I like that I was super critical of Andor, yet somehow you kind of managed to be the downer on the episode.
Yeah.
I would ask, at the end of it, this is how all the podcasts and the YouTube videos and stuff, and it's like, that's what we thought of Andor season 2. But what did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Don't.
I don't want to know.
I don't fucking care.
I don't want to know.
I don't give two shits.
I want memes. What's your favorite Star Wars meme that you've seen this week? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode of Forced Perspectives. And I think what we're going to do, I'm going to call the shot now. I think what we need to do in order to like balance out this episode where I was very like, this sucks and I don't like it. I think what we need to do is we need to do kind of what we did with that Zelda episode where we came in, we were like, if you were making a Zelda game, what would it be? And we pitched our Zelda game. So you got 2 weeks to think about it, Joe.
That's cool.
I know you already have the answer. It's locked and loaded, I'm sure. Just like mine is. But if you could do anything in the Star Wars galaxy, make any piece of Star Wars content, what would it be? And we're going to talk about that on the next episode. And hey, how about instead of telling us about what you thought of Andor, which like snooze, I don't care. What would you make if you were going to make a Star Wars? What would you make? Let us know. Head over to Discord, thunderquack.com/Discord. Join the community there. Let us know there. You can let us know on Blue Sky at Force POV. Or I guess you could also try and let us know on Instagram. Meta is so terrible with the notifications. I'm always like, wait, what? Somebody did something on one of my other accounts. I never know. But Discord's the best place, guys. Discord is the best place to be part of the conversation, so you should come hang out with us there. Listen, I know that Discord servers are like intimidating. Ours is not. The Thunderquack Discord server is so chill. It's so slow. It's not that many people in it, and even like the people that are in it, it's like, man, we pop in and we talk when we feel like it. It is not one of those Discord servers. All the other servers that I'm a part of, it's like shit's just like blasting by. You're like you don't check it for 45 minutes and there's 270 messages. Ours is not that. So if you've had bad experiences on Discord in the past, I would just say, like, just give us a try, just give us a shot, and come hang out and talk to us about Star Wars and hang out. And let us know if you could make any Star War, what would it be? And if you do, I'll probably forget to read it on the podcast next time.
I'll remind you.
That's just honesty. But
no, that's a good idea. We should do that.
I'll forget to do that in the exact same way that I completely forgot right up until this moment that we need to give patron shoutouts. And you know what's hilarious about that? Right next to Goku and Vegeta is my sticky note on my monitor that says patron shoutouts. That is there to remind me every time we're recording that I need to do patron shoutouts at the beginning of every episode, but we didn't do it at the beginning of this one. So I am right now vamping so that I can bring up the names, because it's only 5 people. I should have it memorized, but I don't, guys. All right. Just cut me some slack. All right. The podcast is free. Okay, man, get off my fucking back, guys. Nobody cares. Like, this is the thing, is that nobody is complaining about any of this. You guys are the best. And among the best of the best are our Patreon supporters, Brian, Dan, Sherston, Curtis, and Mark. Thank you guys for supporting us at the $10 level, the Elite Thunderquack membership over at patreon.com/Thunderquack. If you wanted to get your name shouted out on the podcast, like at the very end, because I totally forgot until just now. No, but the other ones, it's actually I'm pretty good about it. I do them at the beginning. This is the first time that I've actually like forgotten until the very end. If you want that perk, why wouldn't you after that sales pitch? You can head to patreon.com/Thunderquack and you can pledge at $10 a month, or you can do $5, or you can do $1. You can do $1 a month. You know what? You can do $1 a month, but pay for the whole year in advance and get 10% off of it. At which point it's less than $1 a month. You get early podcasts. You get the exclusive off the record, which, like, Joe, what did we just do? We talked about our Nintendo Switch 2 pre-order experiences, and then
GameCube,
and then what GameCube games we want on the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube service. It's a pretty good episode.
I had a good time. Pretty good episode. That was a nice episode.
Not as good as a few ago when we did our Zelda pitches, though. That is one of my favorite podcasts that I've ever done with you, and we're gonna do more of that shit. So that's off the record. That is the exclusive Thunderquack podcast that you only get if you're a Patreon supporter, and it doesn't matter what you're pledging at. All of the tiers get off the record. That is the Patreon thing. Everybody gets access to the special members only area of the Discord. And then there's other bonuses if you want to pledge more, but that $1 a month is all. I don't think people need to spend more than that. Doing the annual is the best way to do it. That's the best value. That's the best deal. So head to patreon.com/Thunderquack and you can get access to all of that stuff and be a part of our community, which we would appreciate. That's it. That's the episode, guys. Thank you for listening. And we still don't have an outro. The outro to this podcast is that we don't have an outro. And I think that we just need to accept it. But Joe, you got to start thinking now about what it's going to be when that Darth Maul stuff hits.
Okay.
Actually, you got to start thinking now about what it is for Star Wars Rebels.
Because Uncle Harlow says I don't need to think of an outro.
That's it, guys. That's the end of the episode. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next one. Follow Force Perspectives on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ForcePOV. And join us on Discord at thunderquack.com/Discord. Support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/thunderquack to get early access to episodes, leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast service, or buy merch at store.thunderquack.com. Forced Perspectives is a part of the Thunderquack Podcast Network.